What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Corruption back again, this time with a PlayStation 1 title that I kind of wanted to show off. It'd be kind of one of the more fun games on top of my list, more than likely. It'd probably make maybe top 10. I don't know about top 5 on my personal list, but it is a really interesting game, and that game is God Bless the Ring Ehrgeiz. Ehrgeiz. However you pronounce that, I don't know. But that is the game that we will be discussing today, in some respects. The game primarily is a 3D fighting game, and it's not really the greatest of fighter games. It is interesting. It did take a new take on the fighting genre at the time, simply due to the fact that you didn't really have to be looking at your opponent to move around or such, and it still kind of screws with me even today now that I've reacquired it again recently. And just the one match that I got here was a really difficult challenge because I could not remember how to play that for anything. But for that being such a lackluster thing, people would kind of ask me why it would be so high up on my list, and that's actually one of the bonus games that is included with this, which I almost think should have just been a standalone game to begin with. But we'll get to that in a minute. With the fighting aspect of the game, it was pretty interesting. It was nice. It had a pretty good feel for it at the time. A little bit dated now, but it's still not a terrible fighting game. And the selling point to these certain titles were the inclusion of Final Fantasy VII characters. At the very beginning, you would get the chance or the ability to use Cloud, Tifa, and Sephiroth. How can I forget that I'm using it? These are the three main Final Fantasy VII characters you can use at the very start of the game. But as the modes go on, you can unlock even more, and those being Vincent, Yuffie, and Zack, which is basically just a reskin version of Cloud. But nonetheless, you still get a total of 6 Final Fantasy VII characters that you can play with at the end of all your unlocking and everything. They do have a character in there that is like the final boss, and he is resemblant to Red 13, but not quite. So I was kind of surprised that they didn't actually just reskin him as they did with Zack and Cloud. But going into it now, getting past the fighting aspect of it, there is a new side game included in on the game. And the game actually has 3 different little categories at the very main menu, which I kind of skipped over because the sound effects for the menus in this game are loud and obnoxious. But I look past them because I'm partially half deaf anyway, so it don't really bother me too bad. But if you got your TV on full blast, oh god, cover your ears. But this game has basically 3 sub-games if you don't look at it as the fighting game as the main game. It's basically just 3 sub-games. You've got the fighting, you've got what I love is called a brand new quest, which is basically a dungeon crawler, which you're probably seeing right now. And then you've got a series of mini-games, and the mini-games were just some, not quite Mario Party style party games, but they were just pretty fun, ridiculous games. There's like one that you basically just run a course lap, and they're small little courses. It's not like you're running a complete Mario Kart course, but you basically run laps on these little bitty courses, and you try to knock your opponent down so that you can get more laps in before they do. It's a ridiculous little mini-game style stuff that they got like that. It's pretty fun to play with 2-player. But the brand new quest is a really interesting game. At the time when this was released, which I believe was about 98, I can't remember, 97, 98. Yeah, well, it have to be a little bit later than 97 because Final Fantasy VII was 97. But regardless, this was kind of cool because I didn't have a PC really then. I'm not even quite sure if Diablo was out, and I really wasn't into dungeon crawlers all that much. And this game had a brand new quest, and the brand new quest was just awesome to me. This is kind of what got me into certain dungeon crawlers, and I kind of still wish that there were more games out like this, because you had to manage a hunger system that was really interesting, because it had different nutrients that you would have to look out for, and depending on what you consumed more would then in turn, as you level up, would get your abilities to increase in certain areas. I can't remember the exact formula for it, but I knew if like you had more lipids or something, you would have more like magic possibly. Like I said, I don't remember the combination. But yeah, more protein, you would have more offensive striking ability, something for defense, stamina, you name it, it just went hand in hand. And this kind of inventory management system that it kind of had was a real plus for me. It probably drove some people crazy. It does to me to an extent because I like to pick everything up. But I still managed to basically figure out what I needed to manage the most. And you would pick up a lot of food because your hunger bar does kind of diminish rather quickly. But it was still an interesting system. And if I recall correctly, if you ate any food while you were full, you would actually basically increase your stomach size, so you would actually diminish less over time by terms of the bar, because the bar never actually really fluctuated on showing you how much of a numerical value that you were holding, and the bar stayed consistent, so it was basically just the diminishing time would slow down basically. And I do recall, I think if you consumed health potions while you were full, you would also basically increase your health. So it was interesting little tweaks like this to the system that were really interesting. And this was basically the first roguelike game, I suppose that's the term for it, that I had played. To go into a game, if you died and you started over, the dungeon was now a completely different layout. You had no idea where the hell anything was. Some items may not show back up because they're unique to that playset. But there are the entrances to the dungeon which are consistent. The only one I ever really tried to go into when I was younger was I tried to go down the well, and you will be greeted by a boss first thing after you exit the area of the bottom of the well. And it was a pretty nice touch like that to basically say, hey, yeah, you can progress further on, these are basically shortcuts. But if you try them too early, we're going to really throw a beat down on you. And the game would throw beat downs on you rather frequently. It was just an interesting type of mechanics that just all blended together, and they worked really nicely. I was really excited about this game, and I just recently went on to Amazon, and I was just looking around, and I just got the inclination to look for this game again, and lo and behold, I found it for about maybe $35. A little bit pricier than I would want to pay for an old PlayStation 1 game, but it was in pretty good condition. The game itself was the disc itself was in great condition. Jewel case wasn't so much, but I don't really care about that. I could usually get CD cases anywhere. It did come with the manual and the back art, so it was a full set. I was surprised to see that. I didn't expect to find anything like that. But the game is pretty amazing. A Brand New Quest sells it completely for me. I had a little bit more footage I was going to show, basically at the beginning of A Brand New Quest, but the hard drive I was storing it on apparently didn't like some of the files. So some of my recordings that I've been doing kind of got, God, I hate to say the word since my namesake, but they got kind of corrupted. So I salvaged what I could, and then I've reset that hard drive, or basically cleaned it out again. And so now I'm doing alright. I may get more footage on this, and I'm contemplating maybe doing like a little playthrough on A Brand New Quest, just to showcase it a little bit more. But I'm not quite sure. Like I said, the sound effects in the game kind of get annoying. And mainly it's more so from like menu sounds and the selection sounds. I don't really have too much of an issue with the combat sounds or any other kind of sound effects. But if you hear the main menu sound effect, you'll probably want to gouge your ears out with an ice pick. And that's probably not the best of things to be doing. But hey, who knows. Anyways, I'm going to cut this one here. It's been fun, guys. I'm going to do a little bit more things. Been kind of slow on the uploads lately. Been busy with work. Hadn't got a chance to get hooked up with Doom Waves lately yet either. But we're thinking sometime this week we're going to try and get together, and we got a few ideas that we're going to toss around and possibly get into motion. So, be on the lookout for that. This is your boy Corruption. I'm out. Take care.